reason some of them we have, you have to make the complaint because you have to give code enforcement the authority to go on your property so they can see the problem that's in back of your house. So that's part of the reason with code enforcement. So from that, you know, with that, trimming shrubs and trees down is always a thing. The other thing is looking at where you live. If you're on a major thoroughfare where there's a lot of traffic, but we have a lot of little dead-end streets and cul-de-sacs and things like that, if you have that, you have to be aware, especially if all your neighbors are gone during the summer, that's prime conditions for people. It usually gives them plenty of time because they know there's no eyes around watching. But we've had a couple in the last year in those locations, right down against the fence or whatever, that, you know, it was prime. Plus, the other thing is, on your patios, don't leave bicycles or any other type of possessions that are visible, because you're just inviting somebody. You know, it's like a thing, locks are for honest people. If somebody has or wants to get in, they'll find a way, as long as it doesn't cause, you know, it's not like a smash and grab or a quick in, quick out. So that's the things of valuables and gear and things like that. I can't tell you how many screen-in porches going through the summertime that have a lot, you know, grills, bicycles, power washers. I mean, all kinds of things that if somebody is looking to get something to fence, you're a prime suspect as far as in that. As far as the, you know, lawn care service, probably the most important thing is if you have a friend that's full-time, ask them if they'll look in your house every other week or week, just to stop by and like look around, walk around the house, look at the windows, because we had some that they didn't touch the doors, they were in the windows. They go in through the back of the house through the window.
And if you have that video security inside, you already know that. And if an intruder came in, you would just, because first thing they're going to do, if they know of anything at all, is they're going to try to smash your stuff. But that's going to be recorded. If whether you're using Blink or Ring or any of them, you can pay for a service. It's $30 a year for both. For I think it's 10 things on Blink and $30 for a year for 10 things on Ring. I don't like using the cloud for much stuff, but I do pay that service because I want it. If I'm gone on a cruise for a week and a half, and I don't have internet service, I want to make sure that somewhere it's recorded. If you're going to be home all the time, you don't have to pay the $30. I would recommend you do it because again, if they come in. And I speak from experience of being a school principal when I've had my buildings burglarized. And they would come in and they'd do whatever they want, and basically they were getting video recorded, but as soon as they saw them, they'd smash them. But we had videotape to go get them afterwards. So hopefully you're home, you got your watch on, or you got your phone nearby, or you've got the stuff coming off of your Dot or your Amazon or your Fire. Down here I have Fire that tells you that something's going on. So again, if you don't have video security, I would highly recommend it. It's easy to do. It's easy to upstate. I talked to the computer club guys, and I'm going to ask Scott, wave your hand, and me to come in at one of their sessions to train people on how to use the stuff that we're already using. And go ahead.
It all needs
Pardon?
It all needs internet, right?
Yes, it does.
And you just and you turn your internet off so you don't have to.
You don't have to turn your internet off. I'm paying $60 a month, so I know I got it. Up in Michigan, the little service I have to pay is $80 a month, but trust me, it's worth it. Peace of mind is good. Right now, everything I've talked to you about right in here, I've done in Michigan. I can see what the temperature of my house is. I can see what the everything else I need to see. Every once in a while, I'll put it on live and watch the video of the inside of my house just to see it. When we're there, I do the same thing here, just to see it, make sure there's nothing being disturbed.
Okay, and this is more directed at the full-time residents. Since you're gonna be here year-round, get to know your neighbors. And if you know they're leaving, in other words, just ask them, hey, you want me to watch your house? I mean, it doesn't take much time. And, you know, the biggest thing for the full-time residents, be alert, observe, and report. In other words, don't try to encounter, if you see something going on, don't take the chance. As far as, you know, you never know who you, or what you're dealing with.
This is recorded.
So you have the numbers, if you don't have them, at the office, we have the magnets that have daytime security and nighttime security, call. In other words, and like right now, since we're on a 5-day-a-week, just so everybody knows, the trustees, on the days that deputies aren't here, the trustees monitor the security phone at night. Over the past 2 weeks, I had 2 calls on dog loose, and then last night was, homeless ringing, doorbells looking for help.
How many of you here have a outside service that you're paying for, like ADT, Simply Safe, Vector, Vivint, or any other alarm system? Anybody have an alarm system? Just the blinks? Yeah, blinks and ring, other than, you know, the ones that you're going to pay somebody that rings into their doors or anything like, anybody have that? What system do you have? ADT. About how much a month do you pay for that? $42 a month. And what kind of services does it provide?
Fire and security, basically.
Is there cameras or just motion detectors?
Motion detectors, flash breakers, wood door contacts.
Yes. I had that set up in my house when we bought it, and it wasn't ADT, it was, one of the other ones, and I got, this one, every time you open the door, or door open, we got tired of it because I was going to do our own video security. And it's just that, like I said in this, what I put together here, I wanted to kind of know what it would cost. And do you have to have the internet for that? No. No internet, so there you go.
The other part of that is your insurance goes down.
Your insurance what?
Will go down.
Will go down if you have a security system in place, depending on the insurance company, and you have to let them know.
Yeah, in Canada, it's 10%.
Yeah.
If you don't have internet for ADT, go to your phone line? It goes to the cell phone. We have to leave the electricity on to the base station, but it's all, we have a, get the name, but it's an app on our phone. We can alarm and disarm, it's not there.
What he's saying, he's got an app on the phone, he has to alarm, disarm from your phone, and,
You can pop it out.
yep. It doesn't have any cameras on it.
No.
They have that option.
You have that option, and it'd probably go up a bit more money.
We're thinking of exploring that.
Yeah. Well, report back to us when you explore it, and so we can share that information.
I'm gonna ask, because that's kind of the end of, with the security that I got. Any additional from your,
One of the things on garage doors, probably not a lot of us have garage doors here, but you may have garage doors up north, or wherever you go home to. Those doors are the most insecure door on your house. I can be inside your garage, and if you leave that pedestrian door going into your house unlocked, I can reach up, you know, the little pull when you lose power to get your door open. I can go right up through the top of the door, pull that thing, with a coat hanger or whatever wire I need, and unlock that. I can lift your door and go right into your pedestrian door. I can also close that door right behind me while I'm burglarizing your house, and, nobody will know I'm there. So just keep that in mind for that garage door.
So I think it's time for questions and answers, or anything else that, you guys are doing that we haven't covered, or it's not covered in that handout. Anybody have any suggestions or questions? Scott? Anything?
The only thing that I would like to point out, I'm looking it up right now, is if you have a security system on your home, I believe that Pasco County requires that you, register it with them. So that not getting false alarms.
Correct. And that's the reason, they put one in one of the schools I was at, and the smoke detector that I didn't even know there, that they were installing, went off. Next thing I know, I've got, 1,300 middle school kids wanting to know why there's 8 fire trucks going around the building. And I had no clue, they didn't tell me that I needed to go to that panel and shut it off. They were working in the boiler room, pipe fitters were, so guess where the smoke was coming from? They wanted, we had to remove every child, they had to go through everything, and then they said, this is the freebie, the next time it's gonna cost you $7,000. So, I wasn't real happy with that system, I wanted video security and some other things, and finally got my way, it took a while. Any other questions you might have? Any other ideas? Go, yeah, right here, I missed it.
Would it be a good idea to put that white plastic chain link across the property in the front?
That's a clear indicator, hey, I'm not home.
Yeah, and yeah, you might get a little, some, tar marks on your thing, some backing in and out, but I wouldn't put it up.
Well, if you're like anybody else in Florida, you got.
Go ahead.
We did, we had a new surface driveway, and when we left, we put up a plastic chain link fence,
Mm-hmm.
and with the days after we left, we got a call, somebody backed right in over it, and fortunately, they didn't get into much, they didn't get into the house, they
Right.
went into a shed, after a shed. But it just advertised that nobody's there.
You just, yeah, so what she was saying was, she put up the, chain link, plastic probably, chain link thing, and somebody drove right over it. And fortunately, didn't have a bad result. Yes?
Most everybody in this park has sand and crabgrass, so don't worry about your lawn.
Over here.
What's that, device right in front of you there, the taller one? That one. What is that? You explained that before.
What this is when I was out around checking mold stuff, it doesn't get mold, but I was checking everything in the world. I brought that in, and it tells you basically about 5 or 6 different types of, it gives you the temperature of your home, the humidity of your home, HCHO, what's that, Scott? HCHO. Yeah, PM2.5, TBOC, CO, which is carbon, CO2, a bunch, it's like 10 or 15 different, things up in the air. I can tell you this, when my wife puts her perfume on, if she's too close, it'll set it off. But, the other thing is, up north where we got gas, I finally convinced her that she really needs to run that, as soon as she's using the gas stove, she needs to turn on the ventilation. Because it sets that off big time. You don't know how much carbon dioxide is coming off your gas stove. There's more than you think.
What's it called?
Air quality detector. And that's why I bought this stuff, so you can snap a picture of it. I wouldn't buy this particular model. The one I bought for my son-in-law, up in Chicago is a much better unit, with a Wi-Fi system and everything else. But this gives you some examples. That's why I brought this stuff, so you can take a look at it. Anything else? I think so. I don't have the dot, I have the bigger one, and then I have fire, and I know I can on the fire tablet. Back here?
You probably have a show, the show will get to some, but the dots don't necessarily will.
Yeah, my, son's girlfriend from California saw we had the bigger one, and she said, in her former, apartment, she had this, and so she gave it to me. It's not the one I would use. Barry?
I just wanted to say, not all of these camera services require a contract. And you can buy a Eufy, an Arlo, a Ring even, and any of those cameras can be used without paying any monthly fee. They'll send a notification to your phone, so you'll know about it immediately when there's movement or whatever. But the subscription is, when you have a subscription, that automatically notifies the authorities. That's what Scott was saying. Then you have to register it with the county. You don't have to register if they're not going to be notified. But if you buy any of those cameras, you can buy a Eufy camera for $40, and it basically will monitor for any kind of movement. It'll actually have some AI built into it, so it can detect whether or not it's a human being or some other kind of movement. And it sends a notification to your cell phone immediately when it detects any kind of movement or noise or something like that. Even some of your Alexa devices, the round ones, the globe looking ones, if you have those have temperature monitoring in it. So if you have those left on, you can actually go to your application on your phone and ask what the temperature is inside your house, and it'll tell you right now at that device.
To go right along with that is that the subscriptions I was talking about is just to preserve your data. It doesn't call in, if you're doing Ring, Google, or Blink, it doesn't call into the fire department or anything else. Some of them do, I don't know if Simply Safe does, some of them do. You don't have the subscription, but if you're gone for a long time, it might be a good idea to get it for as cheap as $30 a year for 10 devices. It's entirely up to you, but good point, Barry, on the other things.
I know, as far as preserving your data, I mean, like Arlo, for example, even and Ring, it'll keep your data, it'll keep the event on when it sends it to your phone, it'll keep it on there for 15 or 30 days, depending on which one.
Yeah.
And usually that's
30.
And usually that's enough time to download it to your phone or your computer if you have some kind of event that needs to have some,
I agree with all that, I just paid $30 anyhow. One of the other things is don't buy a brand new Blink, or buy a brand new, Ring device. I have two of them, both of them are remanufactured for half the cost. You can go up to some of these stores, Home Depots and others, and pay $200 for what I paid for basically the same stuff for $50, $60. So, yeah, I got them, again, remanufactured, they work good. One I've had for 5 or 6 years when we first came down here, and the other one's 3 years old. So, yeah, you don't need to buy brand new. Save some money, get it remanufactured, and you can find them on Amazon remanufactured or right through Ring.
What's the easiest and best to buy?
Well, my son-in-law would say any Google product. I like the Ring for the features that it has on it, but I like the Blink, and they have inside cameras, but I like the Blink for inside. And I use them outside too, except for, the doorbell. Everything else I got is Blink. Scott, you have any favorites?
I have Arlo, Blink, and Ring. I like the Blink because you can get them completely wireless, they run on batteries. And if you adjust the setting, you can get decent life out of your batteries. And then you can place the unit wherever you want. The doorbell cameras have the two terminals on there, so you can actually hook it up to your doorbell.
Yeah.
But I like the Blink ones mostly because the little cube cameras, the stationary cameras that are inside the home, you can usually get them when they're on sale for about $16 or $17. And then there's a little module that talks to the camera, and the camera itself, it's a no-brainer. You place it wherever you want. They make one that will pan and tilt. I have one on my phone. I call it R2D2 because of the shape of it. And it's great that I use one of those little stationary ones to monitor the oil level in my heating oil tank. Rather than buy the $200 unit that the heating oil company was trying to sell me, I can just look at my phone and I know exactly how much oil is in my tank, for $17 instead of $200.
Before I found this wireless device, that's what I was doing to find out my temperature in the house. I had a Blink set on. Anything else? Yes.
Are you going to go over your mold control?
Yeah, I will. Whoever wants to stay for that one, I'll go through that stuff too.
And do you recommend damper it, or you recommend those?
Well, when I go through that, I'll tell you if you want to stick around.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to build on something that Mr. Gregg said about if you see something, say something. So like if, let's just say y'all are Michigan, wherever, you get up the next morning, you look at your camera, and you saw somebody out front, which I've had this happen, they're going up and down the street with a flashlight, looking to see what was on a patio. Call them our security and let them know. Because if you don't tell anybody that, they have no way to combat the problem. Because they might, like I might call and say, hey, this happened on Lakewood. You might call and say it happened on Sandra. Then they can go back and they can look with all the information they got, establish a pattern, and then get that information over to our sheriff that's on duty, so that they can watch. So even if you think it's something small, after the fact, let them know.
Anything else before, yeah, go ahead.
That whole, we have a neighbor that has several cars, but his wife parks her cars in our driveway all the time.
Yeah. That's one of the tips here. Have your neighbor move it back and forth. Over here?
Superior hot water heater door.
Yes.
Outside the trailer.
Yeah, if you got an outside one, you really need to, do that. If you're leaving, I recommend draining it. And I can tell you why. I didn't drain mine one year and it went bad, so when I got underneath it and checked for something else on my thing, I could see a little drip, drip, drip. And it probably was leaking all summer. And ours is inside. Probably leaked all summer. I had a heck of a mess to clean up.
But they could get inside the house that way too.
Oh, they could, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good point. I was just thinking about the other, but yeah, good point.
I have a question for Scott about our ADT. You talk about officially registering it. Now, when we fill out that dark house form, I put down ADT. Do I have to do more?
I would have to check with Pasco County on that. It's
Okay.
Pasco County Ordinance 6675.
Okay,
So,
I'll just give them a call.
yeah.
We get notified first, before they respond to anyone, we get the call. We don't respond, if they can't get in touch with us, then it's.
One thing that I forgot, and it's not in here, padlocks that you're putting on your sheds or other secured areas. I suggest you use a round padlock that has a shielded shackle. Because the only way they're gonna get to those is if they have a cutoff tool or a drill, and it takes them some time. Because if you have a regular, the old master with the, bolt cutters, they're in and out in a heartbeat. In fact, we found with one person that got caught, he carried bolt cutters in his backpack.
Absolutely. Bruce was probably wanting to talk a little bit more about, you guys, you can fill those dark house forms out today if you want. We'll collect them, or you can fill them out and turn them in at the office.
One of the things about this Dark Horse, that's a good movie.
Got a good beer too.
Yeah, the Dark House form, I'm still trying to say horse. But anyway, if you don't have one of these turned in, and say like you've got your system and you've seen something going on at your house, you're gonna have to call the sheriff to do it, because I cannot go on your property to check your stuff. If you have one of these forms, you're giving me permission to go on your property and check your stuff.
They're right here,
I have a whole bunch of them up here, make sure you get one.
Raise your hand.
We can pass them out.
Raise your hand, who wants one?
Okay. Should we come around, passing them out? We got a couple of them, cover both ends.
Go ahead.
If you fill that out, turn that in, it's important that you give us permission. I used to mow lawns in here, and, that's one of the things I did, is when I mowed your lawn, I checked your house. You already given me permission to be on your property, so that's what I did.
The question over here was, hey, I fill it out for the county, do I have to fill out yours too? The answer is yes.
County permission gives the county permission. We are private security, we have no authority whatsoever to go on your property. The county has authority to go on there, even if you don't have to. If they're pursuing something or see something. So if you would, give us that information, and please, try to have a key holder or somebody down here that knows something about your house, so that they can do it. We will not go into your house as security, we're not gonna go in there. If we see something, it's a break-in or something like that, we're calling the sheriff, and the sheriff, we will stand by with the sheriff while they go in and check the house. Make sure it's secure.
Okay, thank you. We're going to transition into the house closing ideas. You can fill those out while I'm talking. We don't want to keep it much longer. You can if you wanna leave, go ahead and leave. These are tips that, some things I do, and I can tell you this, the first year we bought it in April of 19, came back, the house had full of mold, orange mold, the outside was all green, and there was some blackish crap too. All they did was crack a window and, open up the refrigerator. They didn't spray it down with anything. I don't think they even wiped it out. That was full of mold. Thank God I flew down a week early and took care of, getting the internet and basically spending a day cleaning mold. And it was orange mold. Even the mattress, thank God they had a mattress cover over it. The sheet over it, I had to throw all that stuff out because that was orange mold. So, after talking to my HVAC guy, goes, leave your air conditioning on. You won't have that. You'll come back to a better smelling house and without the humidity that mold needs. Mold needs a couple things. It doesn't like sunlight because of HV light stuff, UV, I mean, and it needs a little bit of moisture. It's something to eat. Could be dirt, could be drywall paper, could be most anything. Usually it's dirt or something on a surface. Okay, I'm gonna go through real quick. I checked with Pasco County to make sure that I could turn off my water at the meter. When you do that, when you open that up, make sure you have a flashlight. That's where snakes and other things like to hide. And most of the time, you're gonna have a trowel to dig around to get, if you got a newer one, it's on the side. If you got the old one, you can use that tool, which I have now and I don't need, and to turn it shut. Okay? They said it was fine. Now, you'll see that they can lock it. Guess what they lock it for? That's if you haven't paid your water bill, they lock it. And then they charge to get it unlocked. So, yeah, they said, yep, go ahead and do that. So that's a good thing to do. Be aware of the humidity. Scott likes to set his at 83. I set mine at 85. No higher than 85. Okay? A smart thermostat, which we talked about a little bit, is also, or one of these meters is a good thing to have. Check with your electric bill and your water bill. Obviously, if that pipe breaks somewhere in there and you don't have it turned off there, you might be paying for a whole lot of water, like somebody that was running their home out, and then the renter left, and a tree broke their water line, and it was thousands of dollars of water. They settled for, they could document that nobody's living there, so they settled a lot cheaper, but could have been really bad for them. Change batteries. I didn't change my battery in my thermostat. I checked the house temperature, it was well over 90 degrees. Fortunately, we're gonna be heading that way, within a week. And all it was I didn't change the battery in the thermostat that controlled it. So shut off the HVAC, and house was hot when he got there. And I looked at my electric bill, and it wasn't pretty. Okay, well, actually it was better, because it wasn't running. Yeah, I was thinking about something else up in Michigan. Also, maybe a good time to change your, either when you get back or when you leave, you should be changing your batteries and your smoke detectors. And they also make wireless smoke detectors that can be to your phone too. I always schedule, and one time I called too late, because I use bars. We're booked up until, middle of, after we were leaving. So the neighbor, they did their service, the neighbor let them in, and I could talk to them while they were in there. Schedule your service before you leave, so that it's functioning good. You should be having cleaned once a year anyhow. They don't charge that much, to make sure that everything's good with your HVAC before you leave. I turn off the hot water heater at the breaker box, and then I drain it. The water down here is really bad. It's not the spring water that we think you would hear about. This water is corrosive. It's got all kinds of crud in it. We have a water softener plus a filter. And if it wasn't for that water softener, probably would have had to replace that hot water heater a lot earlier. My neighbor Kevin, said I said, you ever had a problem with this? And he's about a 2003 home too. He goes, yeah, I replaced it 7 or 8 years ago. The difference was he didn't have a water softener. I did, but it finally, it failed. And, I replaced it myself, fortunately, but still it's $500 or $600. But if you drain them every year, they last a lot longer, and you can flush them out then. Yes,
More important than draining is to change your anode rod.
yes, if you're.
That's what rots your tank out.
Yeah, you get pretty technical with these folks. Anode rod is a metal thing where stuff collects to it. And some people think, just take the thing out. I don't recommend that, but you probably have to have a plumber come in, because often, especially on an older unit, you aren't gonna get it out yourself. If it's a fairly new unit, you might get it out, and it's pretty easy to replace if it's top mounted. You're almost all top mounted. I wouldn't mess with it. If it's electric, I'd probably deal with it. If it's not electric, I may not. But yeah, good thing. Hot water heater off. One of the things that I do is before we got a checklist of things we do, 10 days out. I clean all the carpets. When I rinse the carpets, I use a regular cleaner, whatever. Then I go back through them with my carpet cleaner, and all that's in there in the tank is hydrogen peroxide. Now, test your carpet, I always say do that. I've never had hydrogen peroxide bleach anything out. Never had it happen. What I do is then I put I put some in the tank, I put some in the little thing where you squirt it, and then I rinse it with hydrogen peroxide. And then I put my fan on it to make sure it's nice and dry. I run my floor, I clean my floors, but I also run the floor cleaner with the same mix over my my hardwood, not hardwood, but vinyl tile. Does the same thing. It puts that, I clean it first, and I run that over. Good way, let it air dry. I mist everything in the house before we leave with peroxide. All your sinks, all your countertops, any area. Also, I pour this down before we leave. We usually shut one bathroom down, only have one. I pour that into the tank. I pour it into the thing. I put the cellophane over, and basically everything works good. If you're going to shut your water off on your tank and you got your water shut off anyhow, the only thing you have to worry about is making sure that you've got the water level in your toilet high enough so that the trap's still working. You'll know it if your trap dries out when you come back, because it'll smell of sulfur. And so that's a couple things that I do that differently. I also, a guy from Florida years ago, we had some flea problems up north, couldn't get rid of them. He said, oh, guys down in Florida use 20-mil borax. So I didn't bring it, but I made it. He said, make a salt shaker out of a oatmeal thing with a plastic top. Just use a nail and turn it over and shake it on your carpet. We shake it on our carpet. We also put little like petri dishes with a little bit of sugar and a little bit of 20-mil borax in every little cavity, under the bed, under some of the couches, in the crevices and around your vanities. And if it doesn't kill them, it makes them sterile. And the length of time that a bug lives is not that long. The first year, when we moved into the newer place, came back and there was a few of those nice big cockroaches running around, my wife's screaming. The second year, we found a couple dead ones, and we haven't had any since. So that really works. If you go down and you buy those pellets that used to be able to get at the store, that hardware store by Moody's, I don't know where you can get them now. Those, I have borax in too. What I use those for is I just throw them underneath my skirting house. Open skirting up, just throw a few here and there. Works really, really good. Those are a couple of things that so you don't have any bugs, you don't have any smells, and you don't have the mold growing in your house. I like coming back to a house that smells good. And when we first looked here in 2010, we didn't buy. The realtor took us into houses that were closed down, that I had to hold my nose and walk out because that's how bad they smell. So, if I'm recommending something, keep your air on, so that because when you look at your APC, you always see that water coming out. That's water that's being sucked from your inside your house going out, and that's what helps you with the humidity problems that you can have in your home. Okay, oh, if you're gonna leave your refrigerator on, this is an old boat trick that probably Scott knows about too. We used to have a good-sized boat that had a galley on it, but the power would go off and on in our marina. And so everybody would take a plastic or styrofoam cup full of water, put it in the freezer, and put a penny on it, or a nickel or dime, whatever. Yeah, and then if you come back and it's down a little bit, you probably should throw everything out. So if you can, pardon? And it works. If you're a boater or whatever, you can do it right here in your home. If you're gonna leave your refrigerator on, make sure you put a, paper cup, freeze it, and put the coin on top. I don't recommend that. What we take our stuff back and forth. Whatever we can't fit in the big cooler, doesn't go home, doesn't go back to Michigan. And we shut it off, we open the door up, spray it all off, wipe everything down, do the same thing with the freezer, to make sure that you don't come home to that orange mold that I encountered in 2019 when we came back. But that's up to you. I know some people that left them on. A good friend of mine left it on all summer. They had the power outage, whatever, had the storm, he threw everything out. And because you don't know how long power's gonna be out in Florida after hurricane season. Let me see what else I got here. I usually take care of my pest treatment during the year. I can do everything that Hughes does. And then I have them do it in the summer. I also, the fire ants, I hate those suckers. Around my perimeter, I'll get the Terminex, whatever stuff, and, throw it out. But if I see active, hills, then I use this stuff right here, which is good for you can read the label, it says kills insects up to 8 months, including termites, kills the queen. I found it to be a very effective product, because it's like you just turn it on, squirt it, make sure you got some gloves on, you just pump it into each of the holes. My neighbor had a bunch when I came home, he wasn't here yet. I knew those suckers would get on my property. No Kevin, his friends over there, Lyle Evans, I took care of his problem, and soon to be my problem too. He thanked me when he got back. So that's some of the things that I do, along with, let me check my notes here. Oh yeah, I talked about the plastic wrap. Does anybody else do the toilets different than plastic wrap? Make sure that everything's tied down, put away. Dave talked about that a bit. Your lawn chairs, anything else. I have bikes in an area that they probably get to. I have a log chain around them with a nice big bolt. They'd have to have a pretty good sized bolt cutter to cut my lock off. And make sure that you secure everything. You might want to invest in hurricane shutters. The windows that we have are supposed to withstand the storm, and they did. Anything else you guys do that I haven't covered or said on the sheet? Yeah, go ahead.
Bring your garbage cans into your shed.
Oh, absolutely. Mine, I didn't, I found them all.
Make sure they're empty.
And make sure they're empty, yeah. Especially if you got a dog. Any other things?
Joe, one of the things that, you're talking about the drains, like the drains in your bathtub and that sort of thing, what's that? Yeah, cover them, you could do that. But the water in there will evaporate, but if you put RV antifreeze in there, that does not evaporate, so it'll keep it from.
Yes, that's what I do in Michigan. I haven't done that down here, but that'd be a good idea. That will not evaporate. I call it the red pop, or it's pinkish. You can pour that down. So, but again, if the trap dries out, I would put the peroxide down still first and put it in your tank. Then if you want to pour that little red pop in, it'd be okay too.
Is this a problem with the sewers, or is it a problem with septic?
I'd say both, because the thing is, it's your toilet. You're gone for 4 or 5 months, that water will evaporate in this, whatever. So you gotta have, if you're shutting your water off, you're not there, I wouldn't recommend, I would rather come to my bathroom and have it stink a little bit, shut the door and flip on the exhaust vent, than to come home and find it's full of water. So, Bruce's suggestion is buy a gallon of the Red Pop, RV, antifreeze, and pour that down. That will not evaporate. Anything else? Yeah, Scott?
Just to expand on the RV antifreeze, it's very inexpensive. You can buy it in the automotive section at Walmart. It's usually around $4 a gallon. It's for potable water, so it's not gonna do anything if you have your own septic tank. It won't,
Won't hurt.
kill the good bacteria that's in the tank.
It won't hurt it.
So,
It's not like the antifreeze in the car.
right. The other thing that was mentioned was and this is more for routine maintenance, the anode rod in the water heater. It's a sacrificial piece of metal so that it will dissolve instead of having the walls of your water heater erode away and then you end up with a leak. My experience is, most of the time, they're a complete pain in the butt to get out,
Yep,
and the rod itself is actually very long.
yes.
So it's up to you on whether you want to attempt to do it. Most of the time, you need a big breaker bar. If you can get one out,
You're lucky.
they are worth replacing. If you can't get it out, I had somebody, in my family force one out, and then when they went to put the new one in, it wouldn't seal right, and they ended up with a leak anyway, so trying to replace a $30 part, they ended up having to spend $500 or $600 on a new water heater.
Water heaters. To get a manufactured home-style water heater, which you should have, sometimes can be very expensive. Up north, they wanted to charge me $2,500 to replace a water heater. That was the lowest quote I got, and I can't remember how many gallons, it's a good sized one. And I have a manufactured home up there too. I went to my Ace Hardware and see that they sold a Reliant brand, which is a very good brand of hot water heater. And then I got on Ace online and ordered it, and it shipped to the store, picked it up, put it in because the one in my Michigan home was a 1987 unit. I wasn't going to, I just changed it out. That's old enough. So I just put a new one in. It was like 400 and change. And so when mine went bad down here, I did the same thing. To get it quicker, I had to go to Dade City to pick it up because that store got a delivery earlier than the store here in Zephyr Hills. But there's a good resource for you. And if you don't know what shark bites are, find out what they are. I was able to use my existing plumbing and use some flexible metal pipe and do the whole thing myself. After I cleaned up the mess underneath it and used a whole lot of peroxide. Tom Brown, when he was doing stuff for me and doing these, I said, pour the peroxide on until it quits foaming. Once it quits foaming, you're pretty in good shape. So underneath my indoor hot water heater, I poured the peroxide to it for probably 3 days until it became bleached out. 3 days until it killed that stuff and it quit foaming. Then I used this product right here and sprayed it. Okay? And then I used a paint called Pittsburgh Paint Seal Grip, and it's really, really good primer. Then I primed it, and then I put another board on top, and I primed that. Then I ran a mold check, it had no mold. When I got underneath to zipper up the vapor barrier, when I pulled that apart, it had bleached that sheathing through there too. And all I had was a couple streaks coming down on the joist. And so I sprayed them down too. I got some new insulation, put the new insulation up, used the sticky tape, put everything back together. So that stuff really works. Now I want to talk about this stuff for just a second. If you got any mold at all, this is the best stuff to use. We use that here. Scott fogged underneath the stage because I didn't want to get underneath there, and he volunteered. And I fogged all this area, the main area, the communications office. Unfortunately, we still had to pull the carpet there because we couldn't get it out, and the barn. I also have an ozone generator. I would recommend you get them on Amazon too. If you got, like, the storage room in the kitchen here wasn't smelling very good, I put that in overnight, fresh as could be. Really, really good thing to have. They're $40, $50 on Amazon. Buy the ones that you can, set 2 hours, 4 hours, or 6 hours so that you can, it'll shut itself off, because you can't be in the room when that's generating that ozone and doing the cleaning. This stuff right here is what I use to wash my house. We moved into that Shirley Circle house, the whole side was green when we got back. I used my power washer, to clean it up the best I could, and then I didn't have this, so I put some peroxide on it, and then I put this on, and I sprayed the whole house down. And what you do, you hook it to your garden hose. And it's got like a misting, it's got a little soap in it, a little wax in it, and then it's oxide based, so some peroxide type of product. Hook it to your garden hose, you just spray it, move down, spray a little bit more, then you go back over here, I spray some in a bucket, you set the other nozzle to a nice bead, you go like this, it gets rid of most of the crud. But if it doesn't get something in the black or green stuff, I stick my brush in there, broom it a little bit more, spray that, it's done, okay? Now, that area that was so bad in that Shirley Circle house, it didn't come back the next year. But the roof was green. I did that with my pressure washer, spray this on, and I had a little surface cleaner on my pressure washer, clean it. That roof's still good. We didn't live there in 3 or 4 years now. So I highly recommend these products. That's what we used when we did cleaning here, and all that carpet got sprayed with it, and the stuff really, really works good. But feel free to take pictures before you leave of these products. This is what you use. I always spray this before we leave in the sink, under the sinks. Oil peroxide, depending on what. Now this is about $35 a gallon. It's not cheap. This you got to order. I haven't seen it lately at either Ace or Home Depot. This I see because they rent the foggers out, so they have to have it on. Amazon, about $20. So, and for my house to do the whole thing that first year, took me 2 gallons of that to do the whole house. Now all I do is spot treatment. A little bit of green here, a little bit of green there, just straight it up. I'm done in the, it takes me longer to put the hoses out to where I need to go than it does to treat the product.
I do, power washing or washing homes and stuff on the side, and one of the products I use is pool chlorine, the chlorine like you put in your pool, and I mix it at 30-70. 30% pool chlorine, 70% water, and it's about $7 a gallon. Yeah, it's a lot cheaper. If you don't do what he does and you put any of those products on, it'll fade your vinyl out. If you're using it on metal, no problem. I just don't like the smell of it. But I like this much better.
One thing as far as on your hot water heaters, when you come back and you've done everything you think, but you turn on the water and everything like that, and you get a consistent sulfur smell, rotten egg smell, it's a good indication that one of your anode rods is going out. Also, when you turn your water back on, make sure you have your flashlight again. I generally go in and turn off every faucet. Then I turn that water on as I got my outside spigot, because that will flush it out before it gets into the house. So you flush it all out, because again, this water is nasty here. So you flush that portion out, then I go into the house and I shut the faucet off, then I start opening up my cold side only. And I look at the sinks and whatever and see that it's all coming real clear. Then I'm done with that, I shut that off. I wait about an hour. And so I know that tank is, they have to have really hot water, but I know the tank's full. And don't be stupid like me a couple of years ago when up north I have a guy blow it out, to haul the lines out. And he didn't shut off the hot water tanks thing, so I turned the water on, guess what, water's going all over. So make sure you when you open that up, make sure you shut it before you leave. So anyhow,
Then you check your hot water. One year down here, the year that they were redoing that well, right next to my house, you can't believe how bad the water that came out now in the hot water tank. I mean, it was just gross. It started out, gray, and it took a long time to flush flush the hot water system out because of the junky water. Anything else, guys? Yes.
I'd just like to say, kudos to bars. Our hot water heater, when we came back, we were back one day, and it erupted, and there was water everywhere. And we tried to drain it out, and there was no shut-off thing, and the water kept coming in. I called bars at 8 o'clock, they were there at 8:30 in the morning. They had replaced it, and yes, it was expensive, but the service was excellent. He was there like 2 hours, put the new shut-offs and everything in, and I was very grateful for them.
Okay, I think that ends our dog and pony show. Do appreciate everybody for coming. Hopefully it gave you some helpful information, help you get ready to go home, and for the full-timers, gave you some information as far as to help Detmar safer during the summertime. Thank you.